guys, Susan here. Okay, today we're going to do a dolman sleeve, and I'm going to show you how to do that with this knit fabric. We're going to actually do a plunge neckline dress style with the dolman sleeve using a small Italian shoulder pad, and that's what's next. All right, Patreon, so I wanted to show you something exciting. So this is the finished product, all right? And it is a woven stretch, believe it or not. It's woven with elastic and it's yarn dyed, which is a whole nother story I will tell you about another time. This is the plunge dress. I've got the shoulder pads in there. And look at the dolman sleeve. It is so far up, it's almost like a fitted sleeve. And I wanted to do something cutting edge and modern and cute. And this is a little mini dress. Let me show you on the flat now how it's done. French draping is very rewarding, guys. I'm so glad you're here with me on this platform. And if you're not, you need to sign up immediately. I'll see you at Patreon's. All right, let me show you on the flat how to do this now. First, let me show you the measurements we're going to need with the knit fabric in order to drape this. So first we're going to go, you have to go above the neck plate, down to the bottom of whatever your design is going to be, and add about 5 inches, okay? So I'm going to do about 40 inches here in length. And then the width. Okay, the width, this is just to the elbow. So you want to make sure that the width of your fabric is at least that wide, plus about another 5 or 6 inches. So I have 21 here. So this fabric is, I think, 60 inches wide, so we have plenty. Let me show you on the flat now. Okay, so here I am, and I'm going to measure, like I said, about 41 inches. I have my L square there already. This fabric, like I said, is about 60 inches wide. So I have, let's see, on the width, I have almost 30 inches, about 29 and a half. So I have the L square here in order to give myself a straight line. I'm just going to use a marker and put a line there like that. That's where I'm going to cut that fabric. And then I'm going to cut the fabric in half as well here. So I'm going to use one portion for the front and the other portion for the back. So let me go ahead and cut that all out, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's get started with the design. All right, I have the plunge already put on here. I have the shoulder pad so we can drape with that in mind. And I have the 1/2 of the knit fabric. I've drawn a line, 1/2 inch from the edge, so that can be my center front. I'm going to put the fabric all the way up to the top of the neck plate. Along the center front, even if I'm not going to have a center front seam, I do want to just work on half of the body right now. It's just much easier that way. And we're going to go ahead and put that there. I'm going to just secure it down the center part of the dress form like this. You want to make sure it's way up here enough because, let's see, that's good. I'm just going to go ahead and pin this down along the center front. Now we're going to go ahead and smooth here around the neckline a little bit here. We're going to do our same smoothing process, which is down, across, and sharply to the intersection, so I can get rid of some of this here around the neckline because we don't need this. We want to make sure it doesn't pull. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so now that we have it fairly smooth here around the neckline, we want to make sure we have enough here to be able to do that across where the shoulder is going to be. Alright, we're going to go ahead and just put a pin here. Now I'm going to kind of work on the body of the garment first, because we have to get all this done first before we can work on the dolman sleeve. I'm going to do my normal thing with the knit fabric, which is kind of push as much of the fabric as I can to allow no darts on this particular dress. I'm just going to go ahead and put a pin there and here and just smooth up. Have the dolman that we know is going to be over here. The reason why I had another mannequin here is because when you're doing the dolman, you're going to have to secure it to something else, whether it's wall or another mannequin. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my mannequin in because we're going to need that to secure the sleeve once we get it. I usually just turn it to the back of the mannequin. Obviously, most of you are not going to have two mannequins, but just use something else that you can actually pin to like that. See how we're having the shape of it working well. I do have some fullness here and some excess. That's normal for a dolman sleeve, guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this as secure as I can. The fabric actually stretches on both directions very, very well. So this is a good comparable fabric. It's not exactly like it because this is a knit and that's actually a woven stretch. So, but it'll be fine. So I'm using a light fabric as well so I can see the structure of the mannequin underneath and any style line, which is of course the neckline, as you can see through the dress form. Now that I have this pretty much taut, I have this all the way down here as well. We've got the structure of this very nicely. Always starting, and I should have started sooner, on the apex because we're going to replace this design as many times as we need to with that apex. So I'm going to go ahead and put my cross mark where the apex is. I'm going to dot, dot, dot where my plunge is. I did a little bit of a higher plunge than this in the sewing process. You can go up even a little bit higher, but I just wanted to have something kind of fun for you guys to see. So I'm just dotting all the way along that style line, and it doesn't meet at the intersection, it's just a little bit shy. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go down just a tad here. I'm going to have to bring this one down as well. That one's as far down as it can go, so I'm just bringing it down where the actual center line of the mannequin is already starting. So it's over here, like this. And so since I know it's back here, I'm going to put my finger and I'm going to put dots where that is going to be. So this is the intersection where the shoulder is and the neckline. I'm going to go ahead and peek to get the intersection. There's the intersection. I'm going to put a pin right there. If that's the intersection, that means approximately the dot of the shoulder will be here. And you want to go ahead and do that marking like that. I'm doing a light marking for that one. Dolmans usually start up here like this, guys. It usually starts up here like this. But raglans are a little bit further, at kimonos, etc. But the dolman is the first thing I want you to learn, and so that's the more of the basic shape first. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this, and it has a little bit of a slope going down. And as I'm doing this, technically the term, or the as low as you can go, usually textbook wise, would be no more than 3 inches below the actual underarm plate. So that would be approximately around here. I'm going to go there as close as I can because, like I said, I wanted this to be kind of tight and almost like a fit-in sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pin there where that is. So hopefully you can see that. I'm hoping that you can see the side seams of this really well. And I'm going to go ahead and put dots, light dots, with my black pen, starting from that intersection mark that I want to have here. I'm going to dot on the outside of that nubby side seam and go all the way down like this. I want to make sure I know where my waist is. You can see I have a black tape underneath that. If you want to just dot, dot, dot so you know your waistline, that's fine as well. And then I'm just going to dot on the side seam like this till I get to the bottom part of this, all the way down. We're just making this basically to the bottom part of the dress form, which is where the mini skirt or the mini dress is going to end. And I'm just going to put that line like that. Once I have that, it's easier to get rid of some of this fabric from my marking. So just to give myself a little bit less fabric that's pulling. You don't want to cut too much here because we're going to need it. So I'm just going to cut across and get rid of this. All right, so I'm going to now kind of work a little bit with the back so that we can balance it. Let's do that next. Okay, here we are on the back, and I just put that 1/2 inch line on the center back and pinned it all the way up and down the mannequin. We're going to do the same thing again to the back. We're going to go ahead and fit around the neckline. We're just going to go down, across, and sharply to the intersection so we can get rid of some of this fabric here. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin right there, and I'm going to kind of snip to the angle of that pin and get rid of some of this here as well. I'm just going to snip down as well, take the pin out, and then I'm just going to do that same thing again and just make sure it's nice and smooth here to the intersection of the neckline and the shoulder. So we have that. I just pushed all of the front downwards and just released it here so I can feel the side seam on my back as well. All right, so now we have that there like that. The back is going to be high up. Every time you have a plunge in the front, just so you know, with necklines, traditionally you will want it to be a little bit higher in the back. So why? So that it can actually hold the front plunge in place. If you're plunging in the back and you're plunging in the front, you're going to need tape, to keep this garment on you, because there's really no good way to keep that on you. So we're going to keep it kind of high up. I kind of made it sort of like almost like a boat neck back, but I'm going to dot where the actual neckline is first, because we can do the style line next. I'm going to do the intersection of the neckline and shoulder seam. Again, I'm going to feel it. If you can't feel it, or you just go ahead and peek. I want to make sure, again, I'm just going to fold this here as well. Shoulder which will be around here-ish. That can change. All right, so we have that so that we can get this without a dart as well. We're taking darts out. How do we sneak the darts out? By just moving and manipulating with a knit fabric. But you still always have to put it somewhere. So some of it's going to go actually inside of that dolman, and that's part of the trick. But I'm just going to kind of squeeze it out. The thing about the back, and you're going to notice on my dress I have a back seam, and that is to allow me to actually kind of put a dart in here, because our back arches, right? And even this dress has a seam here to eliminate any kind of folding that would happen if you did not have a dart there. So I'm just going to go ahead and just smooth this out a little bit as I go along, like this. And while I'm doing that, I'm seeing that I still have way too much here. So I'm going to kind of ease it out of the center back. I'm not going to make this a straight line. I'm going to go ahead and take some of that out just to make it easier for me to have more of a fitted garment in the back, or a fitted dress in the back. As I smooth this out, I'm going to go ahead and put these pins here as well. Just want you to see how this is. The center back is over here, so we're basically taking out a little bit off of that here all the way up to here as well. So we're just kind of making like a little dart there, if you can see that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and dot my waistline. I want to see where my waistline is, so I know that. And I'm going to go, and I'm smoothing this out as much as I can. I don't want to pull too much because it has to be able to stay on the bodice. I'm going to go, this mannequin has a little bit of a butt. That's kind of good. That's nice. It's more realistic. But I'm just going to smooth over here to the top part of the butt, to the side seam, and put a pin. And just keep doing that. I'm going to put a pin here all along the top hip as well as the waistline, like this. Okay, and you just want to manipulate and smooth it as much as you can, because we can still work on that further later. As you can see, I'm just smoothing there, right? I'm just smoothing there, and it's fitted nicely. We've taken a little bit of a dart out. Let me go ahead and dot that a little bit. This is the arm plate. It's good to have that indication, because then we have the 3 inches below the arm plate that we're thinking about doing as well. And that's approximately here. And I'm going to do a cross mark there. And then I'm just going to dot on the outside of this bumpy part of the side seam. And then go all the way along the top as much as you can. We're going to do that later as well. Alright, so now I have that, so I at least have an area of where I can cut. We're going to release some of this as well. I'm going to take here and release a good amount. Don't cut the front. I can see the front through the back. And then I'm just going to go across this way as well, just to get rid of some of this here. Okay. Now we can work further on the fit of the actual dress before we work on the sleeve. Let's lower this mannequin. I'm going to take these pins out. I have some indications, or guidelines I should say, there already. Now, we have that. Let's pull this guy up. We're going to pull it across. Let's get the back with the front. I haven't touched the top, right? With this type of fitted thing, the back will probably go up a little bit further, and I'll explain that in a minute. But you can see we have enough fabric there. Just going to go ahead and push this down just a tad. I'm going to pin these two guys together here like that. And now I'm going to take the pins out of the front. I'm going to find the dot of the waistline in the back and where the dots are, and I'm going to pin them together like that. Now I can grab the side seams like this and I can play with the fit, guys. So I have these dots where the front is. I'm going to pin that and just make sure I'm pretty close to the back, and I am. And just pin to the best of my ability along that side seam of the dress. This is where you can get as fitted as you want, as loose as you want. You can make it, you know, come this way or flare out. That's where you can get creative. Okay, that's how you get creative. But we're just going to do a basic, very fitted little mini, fitting with the back dots, and they're not. So let me find it like that. And slowly get them together. Okay, they're closer now. That's why you want to have a very light color fabric to work with, because that's the only way you're going to be able to see through it and see the mannequin and all your markings. So just going to lightly pin it. We're not going to worry too much about that right now because we can fix that. Okay, I'm just going to go all the way down here like that. Okay, now we can work with the sleeve. Take the pins out of everything except for the shoulder, and you have that like this. What you have to do, and it's easier with a muslin of course because it's stiffer and it'll stay up, you have to hold both sides together to balance it. So let me pin this here like this, and then you want to just inch it down till you get to the shoulder marking. You want to hold it with your finger like that. Let me put a few pins here just to secure that down a little bit better. And I'm just going to hold it together. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin right there where that intersection is. And I am pretty close to exactly where that one is. Let me just make sure I move it over a little bit more. You want to go to that intersection and poke it to the back intersection. Once you get that intersection, that's a key intersection where the shoulder and the armhole starts. Then you can just sort of, at this point, let me get closer so it doesn't pull, take those pins out, and you're pinning both the front and the back together along the shoulder line. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin those guys together like that. And just do that all the way along the shoulder line, just like that. Okay, so now they're pinned together. I'm peeking in the back. It looks pretty good. And we're going to make this taunt. Here is where the dolman starts. Once you have these pieces together, you want it to make it smooth. We're going to then just adjust this sleeve. You want to have a little bit of it going down like this. That's all adjusted later. What I'm trying to do is just make sure that this fullness is okay in the front as well as the back. So let's turn it around so you can see the back. Okay? I have it a little bit fuller here. That's okay, we can creep it out, but that's actually a better fit. So you see how it's going like this and everything else is flowing nicely. That means wherever I'm putting the actual fabric from the top is at a good location. All right, so I'm going to turn it back this way because we work from the front, not the back when you're doing a dolman. Going down just slightly. This is already pinned. As you can see at the end, we're not going that far. We're not doing that big of a sleeve, so I'm not too worried about it. But just go ahead and pin it to something, a wall, a dress form, whatever, so you can get the top part of this pinned. So I have it started. This is where the shoulder is. I'm going to just hold both layers. Okay, I'm holding the back and the front together, as you can see. And I'm just going to go ahead and pin the shape of that dolman that I want. So it slightly goes down. You have to eye it right now because we can fix it on the flat. Just going to pin it like that. All the way down. And I'm not too worried about how much further down it's going to go because that's all I really need. Now I'm going to take it from the bottom and creep up like this to get my shape. I'm going to go ahead and put my shape in like this that I need here. If you feel there's too much here, that's where you can pull it a little bit more. Let's see. I'm going to pull the back just a little bit more, hold my fingers to it, and just play with it. This is where feeling the drape is very important. You have to just play with it till you get it right. So there are the two layers, the back and the front. The back will go up just slightly more. It should go up even actually more than that. We've got the shape in the front. We can do the rest on the flat. And we have the shape in the back. Okay? We can do the rest on the flat. Let me show you that next. Okay guys, here it is on the flat. I wanted to keep it in the same area so you can see what's going on. I'm going to just now mark the front, meaning just putting a marking where those pins are, so I can take those out, putting a marking like that all the way around where the pins are. Okay, here as well, just putting these markings. Okay, I'm going to take these pins out now. Okay, I'm going to use blue so now you can see a different color. You can see that the dolman has to go pretty much in the same direction as where the shoulder is already going, and it's going fine, just a little bit further down. So I'm going to put a straight line like that. So that one's fine. Okay, the bottom looks good as well. We have to make sure that we have, let me get the measurement. The sleeve is about 16/17, so I'm going to put it from here to here. So this is where it's going to end. The sleeve is going to end. And then we also, it's around where the elbow is, so we know that's going to have to be about 4.5 inches for half of it. So that's where I'm going to have to go also for the dolman. This is the bottom part here. I'm just going to make this line meet those dots like that. Now we're going to just true these dots using hip curves, French curves, and straight rulers. You just want to take the shapes that it has and go ahead and fill in the blanks by putting a curved line or a straight line to fill those lines in. See, the dolman is just coming out beautifully. You might have to correct it because one might be higher than the other because of the way it's pinned on the dress form. That's normal. I'm going to take the majority of the dots and give myself that shape. Here is the waistline. Okay, it's doing fine. I'm going to go back out on the hip line just like this and turning the ruler that way. It's going in a little bit. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and just keep that shape, but this is where you can be creative as far as, you know, a line or whatever you'd like. I'm going to go straight here for the hem. It's got to be perpendicular to the bottom. It has to be perpendicular to that center front. Put that straight line. Here is my neckline design line. I'm going to true that line too. I'm just going to go ahead and put all those markings in like that. I'm going to do the same thing here. If some of the markings are out, that's fine. You have to get the majority of the dots. So I have the majority of the shape here as I need it. And I'm just going to go ahead now and put seam allowance all the way around this to cut this in the front. This will be 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around this design. And then we're going to do the same thing to the back. So I'm going to take this out. All right. And we're going to go ahead and true these lines as well. So the majority of those markings are there. The shoulder is looking beautiful. And the shape of the sleeve is looking good. So we're just going to go ahead and straighten. This will go up a little bit because you have a shoulder pad in there now. Even though it's a knit, it'll go up just slightly. So we just want to make sure you do that. Like that. Here is that intersection where the shoulder is. From there, it should be a straight line. Just fill in all of those lines as well as underneath here. We know we have to go 17 inches down for the end of that sleeve. So we're just going to go till we get to 17. Once we get, going to continue that as well. Just like that. Finish this side off here as well. That is the end. So you have to put a straight line like that. Make sure that that is at 4.5 as well. So it's a little bit more. That's okay if it's a little bit more actually. I don't mind that. And then just fill in, like I said, all the dots and markings like this. Once you get all these trued, all these curves and straight lines trued, and once you've put in your seam allowance everywhere, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my parallel lines going around that shape like that. So I have a cutting line of where the seam allowance is, just like this, all the way around that design, like that. Once you have that, we're going to go ahead and cut on that cutting line. Knit together. I'm going to cut the front and the back out at the seam allowance line. I'm going to pin this together and we're going to test it on the mannequin. That I'm pinning the pieces together. I've got the shoulder here and this neckline has to be changed in the back, but I'm just putting them together. I had the markings here and more or less it's okay. And I'm just pinning the two pieces together. I'm folding. It's a little bit hard with the knit fabric because it's fighting the pins, but I'm just pinning them together, folding the seam allowance to the back and approximately 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch away, putting pins all the way along this fabric to connect the front to the back on the knit of the dolman, and I will continue doing this all along the side seams as well, and I'll be right back. Just a quick indication and trick when you're pinning the back to the front on a sleeve. Put a ruler in between and pin on that so you don't actually pin the two garments, the front and the back and the sleeve together where it shouldn't be. And also you want to clip the curve so that when you're pinning it and you're trying this design, it's going to be okay. So I just put a clear plastic ruler here, and I'm just putting the back to the front like this, and I'm these two pieces together with the ruler underneath so you don't accidentally pin it to the other side of the garment. All right, I'll be right back. Okay guys, there it is. So we have the dolman sleeve. It's more of a fitted dolman sleeve, but it's still on the basic level. It's just not a very full one. We've got the plunge neckline. It's a fitted little mini dress, just like the original design. And I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you learned this lesson and practice this on your own Patreons. Let me know that you've tried it, and give me a thumbs up if you like it. Give me comments about it, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.